Hey everyone, this is Anam. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'll be explaining the poem The Trees along with all the poetic devices. It's from the book First Flight of Class 10 and is written by Adrienne Rich was an American poet and feminist. She was considered one of the most influential female poets of the second half of the 20th century. She raised her voice for the cause of women empowerment also. Most of her poems, her articles, write ups, they raised this issue. They spoke about this issue of female upliftment, women empowerment. This poem, Trees, focuses on the movement of trees from a house to a forest where they really belong. So, trees are confined within the boundaries of a house, but they are not happy. Trees are not satisfied with their condition, so they are constantly struggling very hard to go back to the place where they belong. They are trying to go back to the forest. It's a symbolic poem. The poet is talking about trees, but here trees represent all those creatures, be it animals, human beings, the poor, particularly, especially women who are suppressed by the powerful. Let's begin. The trees inside are moving out into the forest that was empty all these days. So the poet presents a picture that trees are not in the forest where they belong. They are confined within the boundaries of a house. Here, trees have been removed by people either to decorate their houses or for commercial reasons, right? They have cleared the forest and now the forest is empty. There are no trees there. Trees inside means inside the house, are moving out into the forest. The forest that was empty all these days. Like I said, why the forest was empty? Because the forest has been cleared by human beings for their selfish reasons. Where no bird could sit, no insect hide. Trees, they are merely treated as objects for decoration of their houses. So there is no space for the birds to sit, and insects, they cannot find a place there, they cannot hide themselves. No sun bury its feet in shadow. Since the trees are within the boundaries of a house, sunlight can also not reach there, and it cannot bury its feet in shadow, means it cannot find its way to the ground by penetrating through the stems and the leaves of the trees. The forest that was empty all these nights will be full of trees by morning. So these trees, they are constantly trying to go back to the forest where they really belong. They are struggling hard to go to the place where they belong. And the poet says that today they will be successful in their endeavor, and by tomorrow, by morning, the forest will again be full of trees as it used to be earlier. All night the roots work to disengage themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor. Disengage means to free themselves. So the roots, they are working hard all night to free themselves, to break the shackles. So they are trying to they are trying to come out from the cracks in the veranda floor, and they are trying to just escape the house to the forest. The leaves strain toward the glass. The leaves, they are also taking a lot of pain. They are making a lot of effort to move towards the glass. Small twigs stiff with exertion, long cracked boughs shuffling under the roof. Since there is no place for them to grow naturally, for them to grow without any restrictions, right? So they are very stiff, means they have become rigid because of the exertion, because of the pressure. Their growth is restricted under the roof. They cannot grow openly in a natural way. Like newly discharged patients, half dazed, moving to the clinic doors. So he's comparing these trees who are trying to move out from the house. The poet is comparing these trees with newly discharged patients. When a patient is discharged from a hospital, he doesn't have enough strength to move properly. So he's in a half dazed state, right? He's not able to move properly. So he's comparing the poet is comparing these trees with half dazed patients, that yes, they are still under the influence of medicines, they are still under the influence of anesthesia, they cannot move properly, but still they are not giving up. They are trying to make their way out from the house to the forest. I sit inside, doors open to the veranda, writing long letters. I is poet here, Edwin Rich. She says that while the trees are struggling, they are making efforts to break the shackles, to free themselves up. The poet, she's sitting in her veranda and she's writing long letters, in which I scarcely mention the departure of the forest from the house. The poet says that I am busy in writing my letters, in writing my stuff, but I don't mention the struggle made by the trees to free themselves up. She doesn't mention about it. Now, this particular line shows the apathy, the cold-heartedness, the indifference of people towards the weak, towards the one who are making, who are just struggling their way out of enslavement, who are making efforts to free themselves up. So this line shows that people around them, they are least concerned about their misery, they are least concerned about their pain. The night is fresh, the whole moon shines in a sky still open. The night is fresh and the whole moon is visible in the sky. In the open sky, the whole moon is visible. The smell of leaves and lichen still reaches like a voice into the rooms. So the fragrance of leaves and lichen reaches the rooms just like a voice. Why the whole moon is visible? Because in the forest there are no trees, there are no leaves, nothing. So hence, to a person standing on the ground, the full moon is visible because the view of moon or its light is not obstructed by the trees, its stems and leaves. So that's why the whole moon is visible, because there is nothing on the way to stop it, to create any hindrance in the view. My head is full of whispers, which tomorrow will be silent. So, full of whisper means all those efforts, all those struggles, all those noises which are made by trees which are trying to free themselves up. Which will be silent means the poet is quite sure that yes, it's just a matter of time that they will be free. They will certainly be able to attain their freedom by morning. Listen, the glass is breaking. Yes, they were struggling hard and now the glass has started to break. Means the walls, the glass walls which were keeping the trees in the house, they have started breaking. So this shows that yes, if somebody tries to suppress a fellow human being or a woman or an animal, it's not forever. Sooner or later, that person will certainly make efforts to free himself up, and yes, one day he will be successful in doing so. The trees are stumbling forward into the night, winds rush to meet them. So trees are stumbling forward towards the forest, and as they reach there, winds rush to meet them, means winds are welcoming them warmly. The moon is broken like a mirror, its pieces flash now in the crown of the tallest oak. See, in the previous paragraph, we read this line that whole moon is visible in the sky. Like I said, why the whole moon was visible? Because in the forest, no trees were there, no leaves, no stems, nothing was there to create any hindrance in its view. Nothing was obstructing its view. That's why whole moon was visible. Now, when trees have moved back to the forest, they have established themselves back in a place where they belong. Now the moon is broken like a mirror, means it is not visible completely. The view is obstructed by stems, leaves and trees. So it appears that moon is broken like a mirror, and its light is flashing on the tallest oak, and it appears like a crown, right? So yeah, this is all about it. Finally, the trees have succeeded in achieving their freedom, in gaining their freedom. Let's discuss poetic devices now. Stanza 1. We'll discuss all the poetic devices stanza wise. First stanza, as it is visible on the right hand side of your screen. First device is personification. See the underlined sentences. The trees inside are moving. Now trees cannot move, right? So here trees have been personified. The poet is presenting trees as people, as if they are struggling hard, they are trying to move. So personification has been used here. Second example, no sun bury its feet in shadow. Now sun again is not a person, sun doesn't have any feet. So sun has been personified, right? In first sentence, trees were personified, and in this sentence, the sun has been personified. Second poetic device is repetition. The forest that was empty all these days, the forest that was empty all these nights. So this line has been repeated. Only two words are different, days and nights. Otherwise, the line has been repeated twice. In the same paragraph, the word forest is repeated a couple of times. So that is also an example of repetition. Next is enjambment. As you can see, what is enjambment? When there is no punctuation mark at the end of a line, it is called enjambment. So as you can see, after most of the lines, there is no punctuation mark, no full stop, comma, exclamation, nothing. So since there is an absence of punctuation mark, it is called enjambment. Next is anaphora. When two or more than two consecutive lines begin with the same word, it is called anaphora. As you can see, the underlined words, no insect hide, no sun bury its feet. Both these lines start with the same word, no. So this is anaphora. Second stanza, again personification has been used. All night the roots work. Now roots cannot work. They are not people who can work, right? So here roots have been personified. Next is enjambment. Just like we discussed in first stanza, if there is an absence of punctuation mark after a line, it is called enjambment. You can see after so many lines, there is no punctuation mark. So all these are examples of enjambment. Next device is simile. Simile means comparison. But in simile, comparison is done by using words like or as. So see the underlined words, like newly discharged patients. Like, right? So the poet is comparing trees to newly discharged patients who are not strong enough to move properly. So since this comparison has been made between the trees and newly discharged patients, it is simile. If we do comparison, if comparison is done without using these words, without using like or as, then we call it metaphor. But if these words are used, we call it simile. Next is alliteration. Alliteration means repetition of consonant sound in close connection. See the underlined words, small twigs stiff, small stiff. Sir sound is repeated here. So it is an example of alliteration. In third stanza, enjambment has been used. As you can see, after so many lines, there is no punctuation mark. So it is enjambment. Next is simile. See the last line, still reaches like a voice into the room. Still reaches like a voice into the room. So here the poet is comparing the smell the fragrance of leaves and flowers with voice, right? She's saying that the smell of leaves is reaching to the rooms just like a voice reaches into the room. So she's comparing smell of leaves and flowers with voice. It is called simile. Next is alliteration. See the underlined words. So many examples of alliteration in this stanza. Long letters. L sound has been repeated here. Forest from the house. Forest from. F sound is repeated. In a sky still open. Sky still. S sound is repeated here. The smell of leaves and lichen. Leaves and lichen. L sound is repeated. So all these are examples of alliteration. Stanza 4. Enjambment. As you can see, after first, second, fourth and second last line, there is no punctuation mark. So it is enjambment. Next is personification. Winds rush to meet them. Winds rush. Winds welcome the trees when they come back to the forest. But wind is not a human. It's not a person, right? So here wind has been personified. It is called personification. Next is simile. Like I said, simile means comparison by using the words like or as. See the underlined sentence. The moon is broken like a mirror. So here the poet is comparing the broken mirror to the moon. The light of the moon is obstructed, is broken by the presence of leaves and trees, stems and all, right? Similarly, the poet is comparing the light of the moon with a broken mirror. So it is simile. Next is metaphor. Metaphor means comparison without using the words like or as. See the underlined words. Its pieces flash now in the crown of the tallest oak. So here the poet is comparing the moonlight with a crown, right? With a crown. So the moonlight, when it falls on the trees, when it falls on the tallest oak tree, it appears that the tree is wearing a crown. So since the moonlight is compared with a crown, it is called metaphor. One more poetic device which has been used throughout the poem is imagery. Imagery means when we read something and it creates a picture in the reader's mind. We start imagining everything which we are reading. So imagery has been beautifully used here. When we read this poem, we imagine trees making struggle. We imagine them working so hard to go back to the forest. So yes, we can say that imagery has been used here. This is all about it. If you like the video, then please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.